Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's episodes of uh of Girl to Girl with the Hoodoo Shop. I am joined here by Priestess Faiza Moselle of Faiza Moselle Alchemy. Priestess Faiza, would you like to introduce yourself? This is going to be so fascinating. Okay, Priestess. So tonight we are actually having a conversation about love and anger. And we're actually basing this conversation off of a personal experience of ours, aren't we? Would you like to walk everybody through that particular experience? So, in your experience, Priestess, when we talk about priestessing and how this shows up in certain ways, do you want to talk about the dangers of it all and how these particular things affect other situations? Particularly our magic. How does this affect love magic? I really like how you put that about how people can sometimes sit here and they'll they'll say, "Oh, well, you made me do this for you," or you don't care about me for real because I did all of these things for you. How do you respond to people that behave that way? How would you tell our students and our patrons
to handle emotional and financial manipulation in that way.
On the other side of it, if that person is willing to have a conversation about it, have a conversation about it, if it's not a stranger.
I don't mean to
And
interrupt you, Priestess, but I think that they haven't been able to hear you. I think that there was a technical glitch. So, guys, we're going to start the conversation over.
oh
So,
no.
I know it's okay though. It's okay. Okay, so guys, today we're talking about love and anger. Me and Priestess Faiza Moselle of Faiza Moselle Alchemy have a little bit of extra time on our hands, so we're doing like a little mini girl to girl with you all, so that we can have conversations about the problems in the world currently and everything of that nature. So give us some time. Okay, so Priestess Faiza, would you like to introduce yourself again?
Yes, can everybody hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. I'm Priestess Faiza, the head priestess of Faiza Moselle Alchemy and one of the priestess under the House of Frida.
All right, Priestess. So today we're talking about love and anger. We're talking about the things that people do, claiming that it's out of love when it's really not, whether that's financial, that's mental. You know that we were literally just having, okay, guys, so we're going to revisit a topic of discussion in a little while. Um, Priestess Faiza and I are actually going to put out this episode of Girl to Girl sometime in the upcoming week or so, where we dive a little bit further into this conversation. But Priestess Faiza, um, today we are talking about love and anger, how love is an object of abuse from time to time. So, we're going to start off with a specific encounter that we had with some other individuals, and then you all are going to see where we're coming from. So, I'm going to let Priestess Faiza explain where this topic, well, one of the encounters that we had where this topic would have come from. So, Priestess Faiza, the floor is yours.
Okay, so we were at Nobu, and I'm not gonna explain who, where, when, why. But we were at Nobu, and there was a woman that was extremely friendly towards Priestess, the love goddess, and I noticed like over time the shift to where it became, oh, I'm infatuated with you, to anger and annoyance. And can everyone hear me? Well,
I can hear you fine. Keep going.
okay. And what we concluded it to being is sometimes people can be very infatuated with you and not understand those feelings towards you, especially when it's a stranger that you don't know. And then those feelings turn into anger because they're confused about their emotions of how they feel about the situation.
Okay, Priestess, give me 1 second while I make sure that our fellow priests and priestesses know that we're live. Give me one moment.
All right, priestess, I am back. Let's do this, girl. Okay, so
Okay.
today we're talking about love and anger. You were talking to them about what? Let's get this ball on a roll.
Oh, hold on. Wait. So as I was saying, me and Priestess, the love goddess, had went to the restaurant Nobu, a really nice, luxurious restaurant, Nobu. If for those of you that don't know what Nobu is, we there was a woman there that was being extremely friendly and kind to Celeste in the moment, and then as time started to pass, then it became annoyance and anger, and this stemmed from like a conversation of us. This memory came about while we were having a conversation about how people get really angry just because they're infatuated with you and you don't give them the response that they want. Oh,
What do I have to say to it? Okay, so let's start here. Priestess Faiza Moselle proceeded to ask me whether or not this was something that was a regular occurrence for me, and I told her the truth. The answer is yes. Um, and it made me realize that love magic and emotions in general outside of magic. Let's talk about love magic first, right? Love magic is not something where you're influencing somebody to feel something for you that they don't already. Okay, I really wish you all would stop feeding people that narrative about how it's this act of desperation and foolishness. No, it is not. Love magic is an act of self care. It is an act of actual love. And if you know how to do it properly, normally you learn a lesson rather than walking around with something that you don't need. So, with that being said, um, I took the young lady's behavior as a projection of herself, much less than a projection of me, because for one, I am used to this kind of behavior and interaction with people. But for two, how it is that someone else feels about me, not even towards me, but about me, it has nothing to do with me. Wouldn't you agree, Priestess?
yes, I agree. Um, it's more about them and the way that they perceived you. I feel that in that moment, she was confused about her own emotions. And instead of her trying to figure out why she felt that way, she ended up, being angry towards Priestess Love Goddess. And in other instances, that anger can become very harmful. People can become very paranoid when they're infatuated with someone, like, oh, that person must have done something to me, or just because I don't know why I'm feeling why I'm feeling this way. Or it can become violent. They can probably try to provoke a fight because of their own anger. And it's due to their own issues. We shouldn't have to bear the burden of someone else's emotions because they're confused about how they feel about you. What do you have to say about that, Priestess?
I think that you hit the nail right on the head with that one. We're not responsible for anyone's emotions but our own. The way that we choose to respond and interact in moments like that. Um,
So let's fast forward because Priestess, don't I have a question for you? Today, we have a little bit of a topic of discussion. I mentioned earlier that we were going to speak of this and that Priestess Fight Isa and I were going to release another conversation, which we recorded earlier about this, an earlier conversation. So the girls are on the internet, girly, and they're asking, they said, girls to girl, what made you realize that you weren't going to marry him? And a young lady, okay, stay with me. Let me know whether or not you can hear me, okay? Okay. So, can you hear me all right? Can you hear me, Princess? I think it might.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So the conversation at hand was, when did you know you weren't going to marry him? And as I stated before, if you all go and watch our release of a deeper dive into this particular, more like a background conversation of this girl to girl topic this evening, this afternoon, um, about how the young lady who was having this conversation, the one who responded to this particular tweet, said that the man that she was dating at the time, basically told her that if they were to ever get married, because she has a PhD, if they were to ever get married, she would have to change her surname so that, and basically implied that when people heard Dr. He or she, they would assume that it was a he instead of a she. Now, I'm not going to say the young lady's name or anything like that, but Priestess, would you like to touch on this? Because if you think about it, this goes hand in hand with love and anger. Who in God's name would feel entitled to someone else's success in this fashion? And in such a romantically manipulative way, might I add.
Yes, first I want to touch on the first question, when do you know when it's time to leave someone? I believe it was something like that. And I feel like we know when we like someone or we want to work through a situation early on in the relationship. But it's not, and the real question is, when do you know you don't want to work through something anymore? When do you when do you know you don't want to work through something anymore? And then to touch on the one of the responses about her experience of her man not wanting her to be a doctor because his name he rather for her to not, pretty much him not being happy about her success. And what I want to touch on about that is sometimes your partner will be jealous of your success, and it's when you realize those things you immediately leave, or you have the conversation about it. Like what I said in the recording that we recorded earlier was that as a woman, um I'm still working through that, and I would have the conversation um with that person about it, and then depending on the changed behavior or the response to that, I would make my decision. Yeah. That was my response to it, Priestess.
So I agree, Priestess, and I think that you worded that perfectly. Um, People are just, I think that it really is all about what you are and aren't willing to put up with. I think that you pointed out something very important in the women department, because I don't want to date someone who would even have the audacity to say something of that nature to me. Imagine entertaining someone of that nature where they would say something so hurtful, so painful, um, implying that, oh, well, and we had this conversation earlier, and I really don't want to take it to that point, but it kind of is a woman thing where
there are men who say, well, women feel entitled to everything that we have. Well, we feel the same way. We feel like we feel entitled to everything that we have, because what man in his right mind would sit here and say something of that nature to a woman that he intends to marry? And so I warn everyone, man and woman, be careful about marrying people that are marrying you because of what you have and not who you are. And we talked briefly in our other episode, Priestess Faiza, of what it looks like, right? In our own personal experiences now at our ages, dating and seeing what the world is like and kind of getting our grounding a little bit. Both of us being married previously, and we have an entirely different perspective on the world now. Things are just a little different. So, do you want to touch on that a little, Priestess? Like personal experience, not personal, personal, but personal enough.
Yes, I've had experiences, newly dating again. So I've had experiences where everything is transactional, and where I would go on a date and immediately finances and money would become the topic. And I want to know, when did we start dating like that? When was it all about resources, and um how did we take the love out of everything? And I get dating your value and things like that, but now people have made it everything about money. Like, you can't even have friendships without, well, I'm not saying you can't, because anything's possible, but like now it's harder to meet friends that aren't trying to also be business partners. I feel like everything does not have to be about money when it comes to your personal relationships. What is your take on that, Priestess, the love goddess?
To be honest with you, I completely agree. I think that we live in a generation. This is the most internet a generation has ever been. Let's be very clear about something. I think that we don't give that enough credit. The influence that people are getting from the internet and from these people that they're constantly being told to look up to in this, that, and the third. And these situations are very hard for them. Um, because people laugh and joke all day, but let's be for real. That saying in today's generation of, oh, iPad kids, like the internet raising your children, is very true. And people don't take into consideration what their children are absorbing on a regular basis, or, what they're seeing on the internet or what's influencing them. Ooh, okay, Priestess. So we're gonna like dip back into this, but you and I had this conversation before. What's your take on the age limit on OnlyFans being 18 years old? Talk to me about it, girl.
Okay, everyone, this is my opinion and how I feel, so please don't cut my head off. I feel, I believe the age limit is 18. I feel that the age limit should be early 20s, maybe 21 and older, because you hear the word teen in 18. I feel like you're still growing. You're not really an adult yet until you reach your 20s. And I just don't, I feel like you're too young. Like, the age limit that it is now is way too young for the stereotypical things that are posted on OnlyFans. For instance, like I said in our recording earlier, was, imagine if your daughter or your son, which it happens sometimes, but imagine that in real time. Imagine that being present in front of you, like in reality, and not on the internet. Because outside of the internet, it wouldn't be acceptable, or most people wouldn't accept it. So imagine your 18-year-old daughter either subscribed to maybe a 50, 40, 60-year-old person that's posting nudes and I can't say that word, but that's posting nudes or whatever they're posting that can possibly have an effect and influence on your 18-year-old child. Or imagine the opposite, where your 18-year-old child is posting the whatever they're posting on OnlyFans, and your not your but in maybe 50, 40, 50, 60, 30, even in like late 20s, is watching her. You wouldn't like want that to happen in real time. You wouldn't be okay with watching it in real time. So why should it be okay on the internet? Okay, I'm done.
You said a mouthful there. Because I 1,000% agree. If you're not willing to do this in off the internet, then you shouldn't be doing it on the internet. And I understand everybody's like, well, we have our rights. Yes, you do. You 1,000% have your rights. You really, really do. But baby, like the internet is forever. And if you know for a fact that if this is something that truly does fascinate you and it's something that you enjoy doing and it makes you happy and it makes you feel free, I support you in it. But the reason why a lot of these young girls now are doing stuff like that is not for the right reasons. And these are not poor children. Like, I hate to say this, but the world's oldest profession, we're not going to say the word, right? Used to be something done out of pure survival, not something that people just wanted to do. And so, and I'm not bashing anybody that does, but I'm saying now that we, specifically as women, now that we have the freedom to do something like that, and then even outside of women, people that feel sexually liberated, if like the people that really do that for real, right? Like those people that genuinely enjoy this particular art or this particular craft, all respect to you. But getting on the internet and doing something like this without thinking it through, right? And shame the people that encourage this behavior. Getting on the internet at that age specifically, and doing something that you're not thinking through. You're not sitting here and having outside influence necessarily. And I brought up the whole poverty thing because a lot of these young ones now, and it's not just girls. Let me be very clear. I cannot tell you all. I'm not telling you all my age, but I cannot tell you all how many people my age are doing stuff like this just for the money. It's money. And that brings us back to the conversation we were having earlier, Priestess, about the fact that people are willing to do way too much for money. Like, you should be thinking about whether or not you should be doing this. You should be thinking about whether or not you're going to have a child with this person. Ooh, child. I don't think that the age limit should be 18 at all. Are people going to sit here and get past it anyway? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But if I'm not mistaken, the people like, they make you take a picture of your ID or something. I could be wrong. People will let us know in the comments if I am. But like this should require somebody older than this. It should, or they should have heavier security screening. So the people that are on OnlyFans that aren't selling uh graphic content of this nature, they're making sure that your ID matches the content that you're posting. I think that people create things and they don't think about the repercussions of it. And then they say, oh, well, what people chose to use it for is not my fault. While that is half true, it's half not, if you ask me. And so something about the idea of it, I'm thinking about when I was 18, Priestess. Okay. Priestess Face, when I was 18, I did not have enough frontal lobe development to be making a decision about whether or not I wanted to do something like that. Now, lucky for me, right? I was smart enough to know that if I did not know, the answer was no. You feel me? If I don't know, my answer is no. No is literally in that statement. I don't know. No, no. So I'm not going to do it. Now, I'm not putting anyone down because not everybody grows up differently. And we definitely all learn different lessons from the way that we grow up. And so I think that we need to start addressing what would tempt us to be hypersexualized at 18. People need to stop saying that that's grown, because when you're actually around 18-year-olds, you treat them like they're children. Do you not? Most grown folks that I know love to say that 18 is grown, but treat 18-year-olds when they're around them in person like kids. Or when they see them doing something that they consider too grown, quote unquote, like OnlyFans, oh, now it's your child. You're not an adult at 18. I don't know who made up that rule, Priestess. What's your take on this?
I agree. I feel like you don't have enough life skills at 18. Um, you're still a child and you're transitioning from childhood into not childhood, but like being a young, I don't even want to call it a young adult because you're not an adult. You're still in your teens and you're still in that space of transitioning into an adult. That's what I would put it. How I would put it, excuse me. Yeah.
I personally just feel like we need to hold the adults accountable as well. Because let's sit here and let's talk about that. The internet has given people access to certain situations and things in ways that we didn't have access before. Um, but this particular issue, like the greed of lust, has been an issue for a very long time. Trafficking and all that other craziness has always been a problem. I think now it's just more so mainstream. Um, and I just cannot sit here and think of a reason why uh what anything above 20 what 5 ish. And even at when I was 18, girl, I was not dating 25-year-olds. So I really cannot even speak to that effect, to be perfectly honest with you. I was not one of those people that went and dated so much older. And I'm not just talking about women, because if we were to sit down and talk about the predatory nature of older women towards younger men when they are teenagers and whatnot, girl. Girl, we would be up in here day, all day. That type of predatory nature, if we're going to put predators on blast, we need to do it for both genders, not just one. And I think that you could attest to that. I think that it's a situation where we've had this opportunity to change this behavior and we normalize one, we really normalize both. And say, oh, it's normal for older people to be around younger people. When it comes to the topic of like age limit and graphic media content, when it comes to age limit and consent and all these other things, when it comes to posting something on the internet, like selling it for profit, that is bizarre to me that somebody would allow or create a platform where an 18-year-old child, regardless of the gender, would be able to do something like that legally. People, this is why I say, Marshery Davis says mommy slash daddy issues for dating so much older. I think that it's also a lack of parental supervision. Um, you don't normally hear about kids with healthy homes, like parents that did the job the way that they really were supposed to, going out and looking for healthy, in their minds, healthier parental supervision. Because that's really what it is. When you're a teenager and you're moving into your adulthood, you don't really know what is and is not healthy. And make sure you all are sending your love donations. Make sure that you all are shopping in the Hoodoo shop. All the information that you would need is in the description. We have our next bath time event this August 2025. It's going to be so much fun. We're switching up a couple things, but I'm super excited, you guys. We have Priestess Faiza Moselle, who has partnered with the Hoodoo Shop, Faiza Moselle Alchemy, and the Hoodoo Shop have partnered to create some beautiful things. Priestess Faiza has blessed the Hoodoo Shop with some of her top sellers from Faiza Moselle Alchemy. As you all know, we have trips coming up, retreats coming up. If you're interested, let us know. Those of you that are watching the playback and the replay and all these great things. But just to jump back into the conversation, we'll touch on the Hoodoo Shop's expansion and what you can expect from mentorship. Updates on those of you that are looking for your night walkers during this time, because that's always a blessing. I am so happy that all of you are acquiring these soldiers of protection for your home. Um, there are a lot of students, specifically students, that have these beautiful monuments of Haitian voodoo and Ifa and hoodoo that have just had blessings pour out, myself included. Priestess Faiza Moselle included. She will be able to talk to you about her mummies and some of the blessings that she has received. So very briefly, Priestess, do you want to go over this before we hop back into our girl to girl conversation?
Yes. Oh, hold on. I would yeah, I can talk about my night walkers and how they've assisted me, and not only myself but assisted me to assist others. For instance, family members. I helped a family member who ended up in the hospital due to health reasons. Made sure she had all the assisted her with making sure she had everything she needed while she was out of work for some time. I That was one experience with my night walker. My night walker assisted me with a bunch of changes, bringing in financial stability, protection, and just overall learning a little bit more about me and diving a bit into understanding how to move within the world. That's just a brief description of how it assisted me.
Okay, so I guess that I can give my personal description or my personal experience with my night walkers. So my night walkers are, so let me first explain what a night walker is. A night walker, or a mummy, as some of you may know them as, are spiritual soldiers erected by a priestess. Um, Me specifically, because they are custom tailored to the Hoodoo Shop in our brand. You're not going to find another one like the ones that are created here. Um, and so, what we do here at the Hoodoo Shop is that we provide a night that is a night walker that is custom to you, something that is special, something that no one else likes, no one else is going to have. And what it does is it moves things in your favor. It makes sure that you get the money that you need, that the bills that you paid are, the bills that you need paid are paid, that you always have food in your fridge. I think sometimes we forget the blessings of the ancestors. We say, well, I don't have all this extra money flowing in, but I'm sitting here and, this, that, and the third. And it's like, guys, you have to understand that blessings look like bills being paid. Blessings look like clothes and food on your children's backs and in their stomachs. Bills look like no eviction notices successfully filed. Do you understand? So learn how to appreciate your ancestors in a different way. Learn how to know and understand what you need. And even if it's not what you want, it should be what you want because it's common sense. So, with that being said, come to the Hoodoo Shop, join mentorship, get your night walkers. This is Fraser. Where was I going with this, girl?
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Where was I going with this before I started having this conversation about the night walkers and what everyone needs to be doing with them? And for those of you that are interested in mentorship, you need something from the Hoodoo Shop. Personal appointments, readings, divinations, consultations, business development. Because one thing about it, two things for sure, we know how to build a brand. Okay, especially magical brands. Look at ours. You see how big the Hoodoo Shop is? Y'all don't play with us. Okay. Outside of that, all right. Um, We were talking about love and anger. We were taught, ooh, so priestess. Let's talk about financial abuse in relationships.
Ooh, yeah. That happens in more than often. Um, but let's talk about it. It's very mean to use money. Actually, hold on, give me a moment.
I'll go first. So financial abuse looks like oh child, that's a heavy question. It looks like I'll give you this because I know that you need it, but because I know that you need it, I'll take it away. What about you? What does financial abuse look like to everyone else? What does relationships, regardless of the type of relationships, friendships? Ooh, we can talk about that. For instance. Financial abuse in friendships. What does that look like to you?
Oh, okay. That looks like people nonstop doing things for you, spending money, maybe spending money on you, claiming just to want to hang with you. Um, just pretty much buying your friendship and then getting angry when that's not something that's keeping you within the friendship. When you expect more, you shouldn't have to buy someone's friendship if they're willing, not even, you shouldn't have to buy someone's friendship in general, but especially not if they're willing to give you the friendship and expect other things from you, like a good character, just to spend time with, you know, being respectful. And but in some cases, people people don't like rejection. So when, sure, they may be trying to buy you and think that you need all these just because you're not lacking, but just because you maybe hit a bump and they decide to swoop in and help, that you owe them, that they're expecting something else out of that. And when they don't get it, they try to take it from you. Yeah. That's my take on friendship. Well, that's my take on relationships and friendships, all relationships in general.
Okay, so Princess, you touched on the friendships. I'm gonna touch on the family relationships because let's get into the nasty nitty gritty about it, right? Um, let's talk about how family will often do things for you and then bring it up later. It's almost as if families tend to have a competition about who can be the best family member, whether they realize that they're doing it or not. And it's not anything personal towards you per se, but if you notice, especially if you're someone who doesn't ask family for things often, when you do, they tend to throw it in your face. It, family is like your first line of defense, in my opinion. But family can also mold you and teach you about humans and how people themselves just behave. And it's bizarre. It's very peculiar. I'll say that for sure. Um, but I also think that it's a crazy situation that No matter who or what relationship you have with somebody, they will throw it in your face. Um, family, for instance, so let's talk about living with family. Let's talk about that. Say you fall on hard times, you go live with family. You'll find that it can be some of the most difficult things of your life. It's difficult living with anybody, but it's more difficult living with someone whose name is on a home, who where your name is not on that list. And so now you're in a predicament where you're having to decide, or you end up heartbroken because you realize, wow, like family is supposed to be your first line of defense, and sometimes it's unfortunate that they can end up being the last result that you want to call. Do you see what I'm saying? Um, I just, ooh, girl, that especially since you probably call family more than anybody else, unless you're someone who spends more time around others, outside of your family. Um, but sometimes I think the hardest part is realizing that there's an ounce. It could just be a little itty bitty smidge, just a sprinkle, girl, just a dash of you realizing that there is family, and that's a strong word, family. Emphasis on that word, that wants to see you fail, that wants to just see you quote unquote knocked down a peg. And it's a very sad thing. Don't you think, girl? So we touched on family. What about romantic relationships, Priestess? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I don't like any form, whether platonic or romantic relationship, where they give and take when they're giving with a purpose and ending up taking when you don't give them the reaction to what they're giving um any attention. So my take on romantic relationships, I've seen people get in a relationship where, oh, this is a perfect one. Women, or not even just women, some people will go and live with their partner will promise them all these things and provide for them and all of that, and then a little bit later down the line when things start getting rocky, or if you're not able to control that person, you'll end up you'll end up taking things away from that person, knowing that you promised them all of this for them to give up everything that they already had going on. That's an example of it, and it's horrible.
I love your example. So, okay, so this piggybacks off of our conversation when we're talking about how people have prioritized money so much, especially when it comes to romantic relationships nowadays, right? And I'm gonna move into the friendships after this. We finna get real deep. It's gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable, but that's what I came to do today. Okay. So let's let's go a step further, right? When we are talking about the whole OnlyFans things and the transactional relationship situation that's being promoted in this particular generation in this way, because it's always been promoted. I don't know why people act like relationships just turn monetary. This has always been a thing. People are saying, well, now it's more in your face. It's always been in your face. The only difference is that it's modern and it's the internet. But why do you think that like families were selling their daughters and had price tags on them, and you know didn't, if their sons were messing up, they scolded them really bad, so don't do it in public because nobody's ever going to want to sell their daughter to our family so that we have the things that we need. um and so, with that being said, when we talk, this is like the modern day version of that. Whether people want to admit it or not, that this is exactly what it is. And so, you just don't have to get married and do all this other foolishness in order to get to that point. So, when we're talking about transactional relationships, why is it that people don't like that when you have open conversation about it like this? People could sit here and be like, "Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that." But then you'll get on the internet and encourage people to do stuff like OnlyFans at 18, 19 years old and be like, "Oh, well, she did it for the money. I'm trying to get to the bag." This, that, and the third. Even when it comes to like Ooh, y'all finna get mad at me. Y'all finna get real mad at me because I'm finna say something that's gonna piss y'all off. Why are y'all okay with boys that be scammers and killing folks and drug dealers and all that, but y'all not okay with girls doing OnlyFans? I'm not saying that either one is okay, but yeah, I'm picking that fight because what's the difference? I don't hear y'all sitting here getting upset with the boys that do OnlyFans, and a lot of boys do OnlyFans. I did not know that until very recently. A lot of young men do OnlyFans, y'all. So why the double standard? Let us know in the comments. What's going on, Priestess? How do you feel?
There is no difference. It's you know, as a like, I'm not gonna say only men scam and things like that, but as a person, I'm not a scammer, but when you think about people that scam, they're usually their reason for it is, oh, I have to do what I got to do to get what I need to get done, or like their circumstances and things like that. And a lot of times that's what women at, or people in general that does OnlyFans, they are doing the same thing.
I agree. I completely agree. It is the exact same thing. Wrong is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. Neither one is right nor wrong. And it's not our place to say whether or not it's wrong. Because truth be told, we really don't know. Um, I won't say acts are wrong. I'll say people's reasons for doing it is wrong. That's what I'll say. My concern, I don't have an issue with OnlyFans. Let's be very clear. This is just, something that showed up on the feed that we decided to come and talk about today. Um, girl, a woman to woman, what's the name of the podcast? Faisha, girl to girl. It, that's none of my business what you decide to do with your body. That don't make no sense for me to be worried about what another grown woman is doing with her body. This will have nothing to do with her body. What I am concerned with, however, is the influence on this particular generation. Like I'm really concerned because I don't like the idea of that being promoted as like a front and center way to make money. I think that's my problem with it. Um, you're promoting someone to do something without explaining to them the consequences. I don't like the fact that influencers get on the internet and promote these young girls, and even like in music and everything else we hear. And I'm not just talking about woman music, like women rappers and whatnot. No, I'm talking about the circumstances, like both sets everywhere in every genre. It's not just hip hop, it's everywhere. Especially in pop music. Oh, the drugged out girlie who's waking up to Chanel bags and barfing in the toilet. Oh yeah, they made that super cute. Coachella chic. Like it's not cute. It's not cute. Y'all are encouraging people to kill themselves. And so I really do not appreciate the lack of awareness and care. People want to sit here and call themselves influencers all day, but what are you influencing people to do? You know what I mean? Princess, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Um, I don't like the fact, you remember how earlier today we were talking about people will do things out of convenience rather than actually do what they're supposed to be doing. Um, and that's where I feel that these outlets are for people. They're like, oh, this is the easier way out. So I'm going to do this, not realizing the consequences that it would bring with it later in life, or not even just later in life, maybe within the few months you're doing it. But that's where I feel it comes from. Because of it being promoted, it's like, oh, this is the easy way out. This is the easy way to make money. Um, but is it the most, is it the best way for you to make money? Like there, or you're just using it as that. And there are people on OnlyFans, I'm gonna stop saying OnlyFans, but are on these platforms that are using it for other purposes.
Beautifully said, Priestess. Well, I think that we've talked our heads off enough. We will be back. We're gonna do more of these. If you guys enjoyed it, please let us know. We used to do this a lot more. I miss sitting here with you guys. I really do. Like just sitting here and talking. Go to our YouTube. There are more discussions like this. Go to the Hoodoo Shop for our private classes, and you'll see how we really get down. Even though this is more of a casual conversation, it was necessary. I enjoyed the normalcy of it all. This season, this is Faiza, and I have been practicing being more quote unquote human. If you're in the priestess world or the priestly world, you understand what we mean. Um, you gotta keep your head on straight. It's Taurus season. Ground yourself out, level yourself in, and just hunker down and focus on the things that are important and don't worry about anything else. So, we love you guys dearly. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Go shop at the Hoodoo Shop. Go shop with Faiz and Moselle Alchemy. Just go and come and get all of your magical needs, whether it's love, protection, money, mentorship, training, some clarity, some direction. We got you, and we love you dearly. I feel everybody, and good night.